If I like exfil and then I have a level 3 ray gun, then I load back in, it's going to be like too easy. But there are regions that are going to be much more difficult. Like think of DMZ now,
I was gonna raise
like a
that
black
point.
site. It's more AI, they're more armored, they're better. And it's probably going to be like that with this as well, where like you get to those areas. So like say you don't even have a ray gun, you guys have like base guns, you don't have perks. If you go to those areas, you're just going to be overrun and die to the zombies. For ad-free episodes, as well as early access and bonus episodes, check out our Patreon.
Activision devs do not play their own game.
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
Because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that, for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. We are live, boys and girls. Welcome to the Dropshot Call of Duty podcast, episode number 351. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. Today, I'm joined by young Tanner in the midst of Hurricane Hillary.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
Hurricane Clinton, yeah. Who do you think is going to have a higher death count?
Yeah,
Hurricane Hillary or Hillary Clinton? Hillary Rodham Clinton. Who do you think will end up having killed more people by the end of this?
Clinton, allegedly. Yeah, there will be a lot of people dying.
Body count.
There'll be a lot of people dying to suicide to the 3 gunshots to the back of the head during this hurricane for sure. Yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah. Hillary's a dangerous lady and
dangerous family to mess with. Yeah.
And Bill Clinton's still fucking alive, which is insane. So anyway, welcome to the show. Today we're not talking about the Clintons anymore.
He drinks the blood of little boys. That's why.
I'd love to stay alive a little longer. I am getting old, but I'd like to die of old age rather than a suicide by gunshot to the back of my head 8 times with a bolt action rifle. Yeah. So, welcome to the show. Today we have an episode. So I don't think we have leaked or talked about what we will be doing today because we hadn't decided on it until yesterday, in fact. But we now know what we're doing. And this is going to be a really good episode, and I'm really excited for this one. And I wish we could have kind of advertised it a little better, the topic for today, because again, I'm very excited about it, and I think there's a lot to get into here. And what that episode topic is going to be is more of a look at MW3 through the perspective of the content creators who were invited out to Sledgehammer Games. So, as some of you may know, a lot of content creators, so streamers, YouTubers, people like Swag, JGOD, E. coli, Espresso, other people, kind of like they do every year. The head dev studio invites a bunch of these people out. Joe, I think, as well. Probably a ton more. Invites these people out to their dev studio. And then they are given... Well, San Francisco. They are given access to the new game, and they sign an NDA, so they can't talk about everything probably, but they can talk about some things. So they get to play it themselves. And then they are also told some extra info that us peasants, us plebeians, are not told. And I guess the embargo on that has been lifted or what? Not really sure, but since they have been invited out, they are now back, and they've been making content on their visit to Sledgehammer Games, which is, of course, the dev studio leading for MW3, this year's Call of Duty title that we are all looking forward to. So what we're going to do today is talk about what these content creators have been saying about their visit and extracting info from their videos where they talk about their experience that we did not get in the blog posts we talked about in the last episode, and that Call of Duty themselves has not tweeted about or talked about at all yet. And there's actually quite a bit there, which is pretty surprising. Particularly some of these things are really interesting, and I'm not sure why Call of Duty didn't want to share them in their blog post. But we will learn them nonetheless from these videos, tweets, etc. So I hope that's clear. But that is going to be the format for today's episode. Basically, to sum this up, we come through all the people who got invited to Sledgehammer, looked at what they had to say, and we're going to tell you guys what they've been saying about the next game that we haven't already talked about via the blog posts. So there is actually a lot of new information about MW3 that we have not talked about yet. Mm-hmm. And the source for that info is these content creators. So
yeah, a lot of zombie
this is going to be
too.
and a lot of zombie stuff. Yeah, this is going to be really exciting. I've already, we've already obviously written the notes, gone through a lot of this shit, and a lot of it's very interesting. And again, it kind of blows my mind. Call of Duty didn't want to like brag about this themselves, and instead they just let the content creators make YouTube videos on it, because some of this info is really interesting. But I'm excited to get into that, and that is what we're going to be doing today. And the format is going to be, we're going to start with multiplayer / Warzone, because those are kind of one and the same now. By and large, it'll be obvious where they aren't one and the same, like multiplayer maps, for example. And then we're going to talk about zombies. And there was a lot of zombies shit to talk about as well. And that has maybe some tie-ins to DMZ as well. So a lot of fun stuff to get into. And this is going to be a really good episode, especially if you want more info on what the next COD will entail. So, yeah. And then let's see. Before we get into it, announcements. We did not have our Damascus Hangout yesterday. That was originally the plan, but Tanner went to a Taylor Swift concert and got sick, so he wanted to postpone it for next week. So the Damascus Hangout will be happening still this month, August 25th instead, 6 p.m. Pacific time. So next Friday night. So if you weren't able to make this one, good, because it didn't happen. So there you go. We might do some customs, we might not. We'll figure it out. But that has been postponed, and we apologize. But it's Tanner's fault, so blame him. And then other announcements. We have our patron Q&A that is now live for our Platinum and Damascus patrons. So if you wanted to listen to that, it's up. It was a solid one. Nice little 90-minute Q&A, little sesh. I had fun doing it. And we've got a lot more Patreon episodes, 4 more, in fact, coming this month. We planned on doing a gold episode or 2 by now, but we also planned on having Fortress, the Resurgence map, come out by now. And that has not happened, obviously. So that's kind of set us back a little bit. But as always, we will still be doing all of our Patreon episodes. And that's the best way to support the show. So patreon.com/the Dropshot. Figure it out. Other than that, do we have any other announcements?
No.
All right, if you're listening to it, here it is.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll ever update this game again. I don't think they will. This seems like that time of the year now where everyone's interested in the next game and now no one wants to play the old one. Actually, JGOD said that. JGOD said that too. He's like, after seeing and going to this MW3 reveal, he's like, I have no interest in playing Warzone 2 until this shit changes.
I feel the same way. I super don't care about COD right now.
Yeah.
I super don't care.
I swear it's the Teddy Timmons thing, like how all the guns feel the same again now, and it's just like no gun is... I don't know. They're like actually having too good of weapon balance has downsides to it, and it's the game becomes less interesting because all the guns just feel the same, and that's kind of already where we're at again.
It's the weapon balance. I wouldn't say it's too good. It's just it's good enough that they're all the weapons are all too similar. So like, I think of good weapon balance where like guns have really big pros and really big drawbacks. And then you have to pick what you want, pick your lane. Right now, it's like every gun has the same fucking time to kill, the same bullet velocity, the same recoil, the same mag size. Like, holy shit, it's so boring.
Yeah.
So it's good in some sense, I guess. Nothing's overpowered, but I think we've had better weapon balance metas. But that's, yeah, that, if there were a bunch of like unique weapons and the weapon balance was perfect from my perspective, I still wouldn't care anymore about this game. I'm too excited for MW3 now. And I was saying this before the show started. I fucking hate myself, but god damn it, am I fully invested now and wrapped up in all the hype. I'm sucked in, and I know I shouldn't be. I know I shouldn't be.
You get sucked in a lot.
You really get sucked in and sucked off. Yeah, and I was watching the JGOD video that we're going to be going over right now, and it just sucked me right back in. His B-roll was MW2 original multiplayer maps just in the background, just walking around them, and I was like, god damn it, that's going to be fun playing on those, man. It's going to be real fun. And then he's talking about all the cool new shit. Yeah, just sucked me right back in.
And that's what I was saying to you, is that the launch of this game will be extremely hype, just because imagine playing the game, getting ready to play at midnight, 9 p.m. wherever you are in the world, and you're loading in, and like the first map you get is like Afghan or Terminal. It's gonna feel crazy. It's gonna feel like
gonna be so fun.
That's the most cool thing about it, I think.
Yeah.
But, you know, just so I can ruin your hype a little bit, just remember that skill-based matchmaking exists, and none of it will end up being fun whatsoever.
And cross-play.
So just know that. Yeah.
Cross-input. Yeah.
So just know that. Yeah, I had to bring you down a notch. You're getting too hard over this, so.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's a mistake to be as hyped as I am, and that's why I said I hate myself, because I know it's dumb, but I still can't get over it. So anyway. Yeah, so as we said, we've broken this episode up into 2 sections. We're going to start with multiplayer, and then we're going to get into zombies. So everything we are going to cover is information on MW3 multiplayer and MW3 zombies that explicitly that we have not already talked about in our last episode. So we're not going to rehash anything that these guys have talked about if we already talked about it in the via the blog posts. We're only going over new shit. So there's going to be no overlap with episode 350. We're just ignoring things that they've said, the content creators, about things we already know via the blog posts. So this is all going to be new shit. And yeah, so we're going to start with multiplayer, and then we're going to get into zombies. The first vector of attack here is going to be a JGOD video. I will link the video in the show notes, so if you wanted to go watch the video yourself, you could do that. JGOD released a video titled, I played MW3 early and COD might be back. And it's about 15 minutes. It's just him talking about his experience and all the things he learned being there. And I wrote down every piece of information that we haven't already learned. So we're going to start with multiplayer. And once again, if you want that video, go in the show notes. You can watch it for your own reference. So the order in which these things are written is in the order in which he talked about them. So keep that in mind as well. Number one. One thing we already knew about this game is that there's going to be something like a Dead Silence / Ninja perk. And perks are really going to be like equipment, so it's probably going to be like a pair of boots or something that makes you quiet or whatever. Yeah. But that's going to function as the Ninja perk, where you move silently. In addition to that, though, there are still going to be field upgrades, and Dead Silence is still going to be a field upgrade. So it's not like we're going to get Ninja the perk instead of Ninja the field upgrade, or Dead Silence the perk instead of Dead Silence the field upgrade. We're going to have both at the same time available. That I found to be pretty interesting and kind of smart as well, because I think for some people, they are going to want to be able to always move quietly. So they just use the perk and they don't have to think about it. But some people are really going to want to take a different perk instead of ninja, but they're still going to want to have the option to move quietly. And then for those people, they can use Dead Silence, the field upgrade, instead. So it's a question of whether you want to give up a field upgrade slot or a perk slot in your created class. And I'm kind of surprised by that, but I think it's pretty smart. And it also makes me wonder, I wonder if they will be different levels of effectiveness.
They did this in Vanguard too. And I think they were both silent. Yeah, there was a perk. I think it was called Ninja in Vanguard, and then they also had Dead Silence as a field upgrade, yeah. Which I like, because especially if Ninja ends up being in a super competitive category, where you want to take something else, that's the good thing. Because I think that's what I ended up doing for Vanguard a lot of times, is I wouldn't run the perk because of the balance. I don't remember. I would take something else. Because Vanguard also by default, if I remember correctly, did not have red dots on the mini-map. You had to use the perk, right? I'm like 99% sure. And I think that perk was in the same category maybe as Ninja too, so I ran that instead. So then I ran Dead Silence perk instead, or field upgrade, sorry. So yeah, it is kind of weird, but also you are right, it does create like a better balance in terms of choosing which perk you really want. Because yeah, if there are like 3 banger perks in the ninja category, then I'm not going to run that, and instead maybe I'll just run Dead Silence. So I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I do wonder if, I would imagine they won't be different in terms of strength. Like if ninja, the perk makes you truly silent, I imagine Dead Silence, the field upgrade, will do the same. I think if that's not how it works, that would be a mistake.
Yeah.
But he didn't say anything about that. But either way, pretty interesting there and good to know.
Let me see. Let me look at a perk list. So remember they changed the category a lot of the perks were in Vanguard at some point, like a few months into the game. But on this website, I guess in slot 1, yeah, Ghost was in there. Survival Training, which is Battle Hardened. Fortified, which is Bomb Squad. Ninja's in that category. Serpentine is in that category, which reduces your damage taken. So it was a banger category, which is why a lot of people, I think, didn't even end up running Ninja.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah. So it'll be possible to balance. We don't know too much about the creative class system, but we have some new info here. But anyway, moving on to the next point. There are some new field upgrades and some new kill streaks. This is not terribly surprising to me, and it also doesn't matter terribly much either. After all, we got new field upgrades in MW2. Can anyone name any? I can name one for you. The tactical camera. Who gives a fuck? That's probably going to be most of the new field upgrades we're going to have.
Yeah.
And then new kill streaks, they're not going to be that new. It's going to be a carpet bomb instead of a napalm strike or something. It's going to be the same shit. It's going to have a different name, and it's going to cost 25 less or more score or whatever to use. This shit doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one interesting caveat here, though, is that there is one new field upgrade that JGOD was talking about where it acts as it's a little buddy that can help you capture an objective. So let's say you're playing Dom. Okay. And Domination, the multiplayer game mode, and you are running the Little Bud field upgrade. I don't know what it's called. He didn't say. And you have it available and you run toward B and you're getting your ass fucked, but you find a safe spot and you prone out. You can throw down your Little Bud field upgrade on B and then you can run away, but your Little Bud, the Little Bud captures the objective.
That's cute.
So obviously it's going to be destructible and it's not like a person, so it doesn't shoot back or anything. But the sole existence of the field upgrade is to hold objectives. So I would also assume that if you have a little bud on like a hard point, and then an enemy runs in and doesn't kill the little bud, I bet you it would be a contested hard point and the guy wouldn't be able to capture it until he kills the little bud.
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like to me. I think this is a cute little field upgrade idea.
Yeah.
Because it's not overpowered, but it's like maybe worth using potentially, you know?
Yeah.
Especially in multiplayer where I often don't use any field upgrade because they don't matter. You know, like in MW2, that's the case. I don't use field upgrades in multiplayer.
Oh,
ever.
I don't even know what field upgrade I run. Yeah.
They're not relevant. That's the thing. So I would use the little bud in MW2 if I had it, because it would be the most useful, because all the other ones are complete dog shit. Now, maybe that isn't going to be true with Dead Silence in the next game, if it's actually going to be better than MW2's Dead Silence. I don't know. But I think it's an interesting little idea.
Yeah, so I guess I actually have more info on this. So the Ghost of Hope tweeted out a list. We'll get more into most of it later, but he talks about this. So he says, additional information for MW3 that was not revealed on official COD social media, but via content creators. So I guess another creator must have talked more about this. Sorry. It's called the ACS. And what he says is, when thrown down, it will capture objectives for you without needing to be in the objective. Has a limited time until expiration. So you can't throw it on the ground and it'll last 3 minutes. It's probably like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, something like that, I would imagine, at the most, maybe. So then he also says the ACS counts as an additional player. So if one player and ACS are both capturing a DOM flag, the capture rate will be the same as 2 people. ACS can hack enemy equipment in non-objective game modes. What would that mean? ACS can hack enemy equipment.
So maybe if there's like a claymore and you're running spotter around a doorway, you can throw it down and it'll like go disable it or something. I don't know what that means. Yeah. Or like it'll be anti-trophy system. It'll like disable trophies. That is a good question though. I don't know what exactly that could mean. You know what else? You know what that makes me kind of wonder? What if you're playing Search and Destroy and you like throw down an ACS? Is it like 7v6 now? I guess that wouldn't matter actually.
Well, no, yeah, because if it doesn't shoot,
wouldn't matter at all.
Yeah,
and we'll edit that out. So
maybe it can defuse for you, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Just throw it on the bomb side. It gets an auto defuse.
Yeah.
God, you never know. Maybe it will.
Either way, so my opinion on this particular new field upgrade is that it's not game breaking by any means. It'll either be like decent or not worth using, but either way, it's a cool idea. And every mechanic or gameplay feature that ends up being really fun and engaging starts off as just some new idea they're trying. So maybe this could become that someday. But I like it. I think it's a smart little field upgrade. And I prefer the little bud to the ACS. So anyway. Next is aftermarket parts. So this was something that was talked about in the blog post as well. And it was in the gunsmith section. So like, in addition to weapon attachments, there will be aftermarket parts. And these are just like more attachments, basically. That's what I had said that it sounds like. So JGOD said in his video that the most similar thing to an aftermarket part that we currently have right now is the X13 barrel that gives you the expanded gunsmith option that turns the X13 pistol into an X13 SMG. So it's one attachment, it's a barrel attachment, but it changes the gun and gunsmithing options so much that calling it merely an attachment is a bit too reductive. And he was saying something like that is what the aftermarket parts will be like. But that is not exactly what an aftermarket part will be like. It's going to be a little different than that also. So that does kind of help clarify what the aftermarket parts means. because really it's just another name for another weapon attachment based on the blog post. But with this added context, we can gather that there will be some extra importance or depth or something tied to aftermarket parts where they will have more of an impact on the gun than just a 60 round mag attachment would. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I liked his analogy too of the X13 barrel. That helped me a lot.
Yeah. So I watched Espresso's video and he kind of touched on this too. He wasn't real clear because he also sounded a little confused, but it kind of makes it sound like we're not actually getting a bunch of new attachments necessarily, which is actually good because we don't need more attachments. We already have way too many. Good. He made it sound like it's almost like, he said it kind of seems like they're building off of like the 3D printed stuff in the campaign where Makarov has like that 3D printed gun that he brings on the plane. And it seems like the attachments are kind of going to be like things like that, like what JGOD's saying, where then you can build off of that. And like they said in the blog post, like you can turn like a normal rifle, like you can basically take that barrel and like change it to a bullpup design. So it does the same damage, probably has the same exact fire rate. It just changes things like what other attachments you can then put on it, I guess. I don't know. So he said it sounds like it will make leveling guns easier too. He didn't really explain why, but I don't know. All of this seems a little unclear. I think maybe everyone is slightly confused on this, but I think bottom line, it doesn't sound like most other games where you're gonna get an SMG, level it up, and unlock 40 attachments that way. It's almost like attachment categories you're unlocking or something. I don't know. It seems a little weird. Still very confused about it, but
my position on this is still kind of the same actually as our last episode, which is like, even if it is like the X13 barrel, does that change that much about the gun?
No.
Not really. Like it's basically just more attachments, and maybe they're extra fancy ones, but who cares? I don't think this is going to be tremendously impactful either in terms of the gameplay or the or building weapons. And even if it is like, oh my god, making it bullpup will vastly improve recoil control at the cost of, you know, aim down sight time or whatever, something like that. And it's like a really big difference. It's like, okay, cool. But then that's either then going to be a meta thing to do or not. And we're still going to end up in a place where, okay, here's the meta fucking MK47 build. You're going to use an aftermarket part or you're not, but it's still just an attachment everyone's going to want to use or not use or whatever. So I don't think it's actually going to change that much, but I don't hate the idea either. I think it's kind of cool being able to change to a bullpup design or to not have a bullpup design. I think that's interesting. And the best case scenario would be there is a case for a bullpup design and there's a case for not having a bullpup design on the same gun, because the trade-offs and benefits are done wisely, where some people will genuinely prefer the aftermarket shit for one gun, and then some people will say, no, I'd rather not have it. And they both have valid arguments. This would be very similar to the AMAX versus Kilo discussion once again. It's like, one isn't necessarily better than the other. It's just what you prefer as a player. If aftermarket parts can introduce that level of depth and balance where what you choose depends on your play style and what you want, that's really cool, but still not tremendously impactful. So I think it's a good idea, but I don't think it's going to be like the end of the world or anything.
Whatever makes it so we don't have 100 optics, we just have the 50 we have now, I'm fine with.
Yeah, that would be nice too. Yeah, we don't need more of those things for sure. So anyway, next, modified create a class system in the spirit of Pick 10. So that was one thing JGOD said. I think that's a verbatim quote. He was talking about the new perk system or whatever. And he was saying, this is a modified create a class system that is not pick 10, but it is designed in the spirit of pick 10. I think I literally said those exact words in our Patreon episode when we originally covered these leaks 6 weeks ago, by the way, because I think that's spot on. Everything we know about the perks shit right now, it's like they want the best of the pick 10 system without actually using a pick 10 system. I totally agree. In terms of new info we got, the only thing JGOD really said that was new is nothing really. But like one thing he said was like, you can equip a vest, for example, that gives you access to an additional gear slot where it would allow you to also use gloves or boots, where otherwise with a different vest you wouldn't be able to use gloves or boots. But the downside would be if you use the vest that lets you have gloves, you now can't run a lethal because the vest doesn't have a spot for the lethal or something. So again, it's like it's a modified pick 10 system where you have to there are trade-offs and shit. But the trade-offs aren't just numerical. They are rather built into the particular pro or con you're getting, which actually is more annoying for the developers to do because they have to think way more about what you should restrict when you give people something. So if I give you the silent boots, what should I restrict? What should I not allow you to have that makes sense as a trade-off? For example, you don't get grenades anymore. It's a lot more annoying for the devs doing it that way because they have to put a lot more thought into it from the ground up. But it's also a lot better if they do it right because the pick 10 system was abusable. You could run crazy good shit because you had 10 points no matter what. So this is actually potentially a way better way to do a pick 10 system because you can bake in the trade-offs rather than the trade-offs being purely numerical. It's really smart if it's done well. I just wonder if it's going to be done well.
And that's the thing.
Because the downside, exactly, yeah, the downside is the trade-offs are dumb. So like, oh, this vest gives you 5 grenades, but you're not allowed to have, I don't know, a lethal or a tactical rather. And all the tacticals suck balls in our game. Like that would be an example of this system going wrong where they don't make trade-offs that make sense. The devs instead have trade-offs that are far too good where it's an obvious choice to use that particular vest or helmet or gloves or whatever. Or on the other side, a trade-off that's far too punishing where it's like, okay, cool. I want the vest that keeps me off the mini-map, but if I run this vest, I can't use a gun. That's too much of a trade-off. I'm not doing that. And that would be the downside of this system.
You don't get a weapon.
So no weapon. So the upside here, if it's done wisely, it's just a pick 10 system, but even better. But the downside is if the trade-offs don't make sense, and I'm not sure they're going to, then this will be a nightmare. Yeah.
And this is a perfect example of the type of thing that we were talking about on Thursday, that the game sounds perfect on paper and things like that where, yeah, like if you, in order to run Ninja, you just like, I don't know, you don't get a tactical, you don't get a lethal, you don't get a secondary. Like something totally ridiculous. Not saying they're going to do any of that, but just saying if that's the way they're going to balance it, and JGOD's kind of saying things like that where you lose something else, then people are going to be like, oh, great, you gave us Ninja, which we wanted, and you marketed the hell out of that there's Ninja in the game, but then the trade-offs are so miserable that it's never worth running that. Therefore, what was the point in even adding it to the game? So that is a worry. I feel like it won't be anything drastic like that, though, realistically. It's just something to think about because these are the exact type of things they will mess up, yeah. And Yeah, because we did talk about this on the Patreon episode, because some of the vests that we had talked about that were leaked, like one of them, for example, it's called like the gunner vest, maybe. You got to carry, I think it was 2 primaries with extra ammo, but it came at the con of no tactical and no lethal. Yeah, so that is definitely coming to the game, and those were like, I mean, we had like leaked screenshots of like super early game footage, and it like said that stuff. So at one point that is the case, doesn't mean it'll launch that way, but yeah, I think this is interesting how they do it with the trade-offs, but you are definitely right, as it means the devs have to really think about this shit, and usually COD devs aren't the best at that.
Exactly.
And especially at launch. Like Sledgehammer, they do a good job of listening to feedback in general. So, you know, if it launches really poorly, I'm sure they would make changes to a lot of that. They do actually, I think, care about the feedback sometimes, but more than like Infinity Ward does. So
they also stop working 2 months after the game launches, though, and that's the worry.
Yeah, and that's... Yeah, I mean, I say that. They listen to certain things, but also Vanguard on launch was a better game than Vanguard is now. Day 1 of Vanguard is better than it is now, somehow. So.
Yeah.
They listen to things, but they also ruin a bunch of other things, like fire on my screen that no one wanted. 2D Wolfenstein fire on my screen. I mean, why? Just to ruin my frames by 60. Fire. Why did you do that? The game launched without it. Why did you add that in? Sledgehammer, so...
Yeah. They
do a lot of dumb shit that makes no sense.
Yeah. So that's the thing with this modified system is like, you know, yeah. Well, I will say this though. I would be far more worried that the trade-offs are too easy rather than too punishing. So there are 2 worst case scenarios, 2 ends of the spectrum. The ninja boots, the trade-off is you can't use any secondary weapon at all, and your primary weapon only has 1 mag, and you can't carry spare ammo. That's like one side of the spectrum where it's like, okay, that trade-off is too big for me to incur. I'm not running ninja boots. The other side of the spectrum, and this is the side of the spectrum that I think is far more likely, is where, for example, okay, if you want to run ninja boots, you can't run 2 tacticals, you can only run 1. Where it's like, oh, that's barely even a cost. Of course I'm going to run the ninja boots. I barely have to give anything up. I think that end of this, and both of those would be bad, right? But I think that second scenario is going to be far more likely, where a lot of the really good perks, they're not going to have big enough of a trade-off. And so you're going to have really good perks that are real no-brainers to select, and everyone's going to be running them because they're so good and the downsides are so minimal. I think that is far more likely than good perks having too big of a buy-in cost. But we'll see. I don't know. We don't know any details yet, any specifics yet. They probably haven't even finalized the specifics on this shit yet. So, next is, this is just confirmation. And this is not terribly surprising, not much to say other than say it. Weapons will have attachments, slots still. So, you know, an M4 will have probably 8 to 10 attachment categories. You can still pick 5 and only 5. And these do not count against any of your other create a class perks or equipment or anything like that. So it's not a traditional pick 10 in this sense. You are always guaranteed 5 attachments, but only 5 attachments. So you have to pick, do I want an optic or do I want a rear grip or whatever, for all your weapons. This is, I think, the best case scenario, and I think this is good. I don't know if this was confirmed, but it was pretty likely, so now it is confirmed. And weapon tuning is also coming back, which is a shame.
Yeah, unnecessary.
I'm done with weapon tuning. I'm over it, for sure. But yeah, those things are both coming back. Not much to say there, but it's now confirmed. So, next thing is you can ADS while sliding with a perk. I believe this actually was mentioned in the blog
Yeah, we did
post.
talk about this. Yeah, that was
Okay.
that was in one of the clips actually. Is that you had said this is a good way to balance this? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right. So yeah, I wasn't sure if we had said that already. So there you go. And then another thing that I don't know if this was in the blog post. A couple of the things about movement they talked about in the blog post was, you can tactical sprint farther, and it recharges more quickly, and it recharges while sprinting. Those were like the movement buffs. Yeah, that were in the blog post. One thing I don't think was mentioned in the blog post, the base hipfire movement speed in this game will be faster than MW2, and the base ADS strafe speed will be faster in this game than MW2.
Yeah.
Meaning, with all perks aside, all guns aside, all gun categories aside, the base movement speed period is just faster. That's good. That's actually almost as important as all of the other cool flashy movement shit that we've been told about. Is just, hey, let's make the just base movement speed faster.
Yeah.
And we're getting confirmation now that that will be the case. Because this is one of those things that's very fucking weird. They don't put that in the blog post. Like, oh, in addition to like tac sprint recharging more quickly, you're also just going to move faster, period. That was like worth mentioning. I'm surprised they didn't. But JGOD did mention it. It's confirmed. You're just going to move. Your character will just move faster.
And that's how Vanguard was too. Vanguard had a good base movement speed in general. And it also had really good ADS walking speeds and whatnot. Yeah. And this was something early on in MW2. I remember people talking about. They're like, we need faster base movement speeds. ADS speeds, we need less penalties for coming out of a dive, coming out of a slide. And we 100% agreed with all that. And I remember back then saying, the thing is, they're not changing any of this. None of this will be drastically changed. I mean, people were expecting from the beta to the launch. And again, let me remind you, however this game launches in the beta will be extremely similar to how the game launches on full release. They don't change that much. They don't have time. This is a demo. It's not a beta to actually take feedback and change things. At least for launch. They'll listen to feedback. It won't all be there by launch, though, of course. But so this is one thing that everyone wanted, and I remember saying back then, I'm like, this isn't going to get changed. And it never really did. Like, even now, the penalty for coming out of a dive, they've made it a little better. They've made the penalty not quite as bad. Whenever that update was, Season 5, did they do that? I think it was in the Season 5 update, but still isn't good enough, and the game came out 10 months ago. So things like that will not change. So if the game launches with a good, fast base movement speed, fast ADS speeds, strafing speeds, a fast slide, that is excellent because that will never get slower. They're never going to make those things slower, probably. And as a reminder, as we already told you guys on Saturday or Thursday, if you didn't listen to that episode, these movement changes are confirmed to be coming to Warzone with Season 1. So faster movement speeds, more tac sprint, that will all be introduced into Warzone in Season 1 when the MW3 guns come into the game, which is excellent. So
one question I have about... Yeah, one question I do have about that, though, is what are they doing with Create a Class and loadouts? When they move the movement shit, are they gonna also say, okay, now when you create a class for Warzone, you pick boots and vests instead of perks like we have now? Because if they don't do that, it's not going to be as drastic as people think.
Yeah,
the changes.
The perk change, well, yeah. See, at the same time, I don't want the ninja perk in Warzone. It should not be in Warzone. It already basically exists because no audio. That's the other thing I was thinking. Yeah, so I don't really know.
Yeah,
it's a great question.
Yeah,
so
still a lot of info.
Yeah, and they said they'll be dropping info in the coming weeks for sure. I mean, we're less than 45 days away from the first weekend of the beta, so we'll be getting a lot of info here in the next month.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So now we're going to take a little detour from JGOD's video. We will be revisiting JGOD's video again on the topic of zombies, but we want to stay focused on multiplayer first. So we're going to go through some other sources of info.
Yeah.
Other people that witness Sledgehammer, get all the extra juice out of there. And then we'll go back to JGOD and then back to other people on the topic of zombies specifically. Yes.
Yeah. So
what do we got here first?
I did watch Espresso's video on multiplayer. I didn't link any of it here because most of it was stuff we already knew. He's kind of just rehashing all of it. But he did make one thing clear at the very beginning, which has kind of been the resounding statement that Sledgehammer keeps saying, which is like, this is classic COD. He said when they all sat down and Sledgehammer started the presentation, the first thing they said was, this is a return to classic Call of Duty. And they put up on the screen map voting, red dots on minimap, silent footstep perk. And that was like, they made that very, very clear. He said that like, this is going to feel very similar to a classic COD experience. So that's good. And that's what we've been, that's what they've been telling us. So it's cool how important they're making that sound, because that's what people have been saying for a long time, is like, let's give us like give us the classic COD experience back. So I liked hearing that. Yeah. So next thing, there's a swag clip here, and I think I will pull it up and actually put it on screen for you guys. Actually, no, we don't need to. We'll just play it and you guys can listen to it. Do you want to click on that and hit play at the same time so you can listen at the same time? Okay.
Oh.
Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
The slide cancels back. Oh my god. The slide cancels back.
There's no way. But like, how good is it though?
How's it feel?
Is it as good as MW19?
Or better? Which one?
How do we go?
You want to reenact it?
Yeah, no. He said reenact.
Is it better than MW19?
You know, you ever seen a 1985 Toyota Corolla?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that's MW19.
Swag's so funny, dude.
Yeah.
Now, you ever seen a Bugatti?
You ever hear
I'm
of
so
Bugatti?
sure.
And then you see a Zumba.
It's fast. Isn't it the fastest car in the world?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I see what he did there.
Okay, so basically
So
what he's
dumb.
hinting at is, dude, Swag is so fucking funny. You ever see a 1985 Toyota Corolla? God, he's so funny.
So dumb,
so
yeah.
basically, it's him, Jay Smooth, who also went to it, and then Swag's brother and some other guy. They're talking on a couch because it's a Swag's video for the reveal. So essentially, what they're hinting at is the slide is going to be better than MW19, and kind of what they're saying with the Bugatti thing is they're saying the slide is going to be much faster as well, even than MW19, which is kind of surprising because that shit was quick. But that's why Jay Smooth says, like, Bugatti, like, you hear that thing coming, it blows by you. And then the other guy was like, oh, isn't that like the fastest car in the world? And isn't that the fastest car in the world? And Swag's like, yeah, meaning this slide is going to be super quick. So very interesting there. That's kind of what they've been saying, is that sliding is going to be even better in this game. So I'm all for that. This sounds excellent. Sounds very fun. Again, excellent
that
for Warzone.
means. Yeah, I wonder what that means.
And I wonder how much
does it
gameplay
get much faster than MW19 slide?
Didn't
Because that was a pretty goddamn fast slide.
Didn't Raven end up nerfing the slide a little bit? Or maybe I'm just thinking the stim slide, which they nerfed in Caldera. Maybe
Yeah,
they didn't touch the normal
regular
slide.
one.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it sounds very, very fun, I'll tell you that. But so they did play the game too. So these are words coming from his mouth, and he play tested it himself. And he's saying these things. It's not just like they saw a little video or they listened to what the dev said. They did get some play time. It wasn't much, but they played a few games, I guess. But yeah, so that's exciting to hear.
That is exciting. That's cool. I wouldn't be opposed to it being faster than MW19, but if it was only equally as fast, that wouldn't be disappointing. I think it was fast enough in MW19. If it's even faster, I'm fine with that. But I don't think it's like strictly necessary. And another thing I wonder is it actually faster, or is it the same speed, but you just go farther?
Yeah, it could be that too.
Because it could feel faster, but not actually be faster. You know what I mean?
And then the other thing too is like MW19's felt extra fast because you could come out of it and just immediately be in another one because of like the tack sprint thing. So since it doesn't reset tack sprint anymore like that, I don't know how that's going to be. So like maybe you'll get one busted slide that's like really far and quick, but then when you come out of it, you're not going to be able to slide again for a little while, similar to like the weird delay that was in Vanguard. So I don't know. Again, they did play the game, but they didn't have that much time. It's difficult to tell how things like that feel playing it for that short of an amount of time.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. But. So the next thing, we just kind of have some different tweets and stuff here. So Sledgehammer started putting out some more little infographics places like on Instagram and whatnot. One of them they put out says more survivability. Then it says base multiplayer health increase, which we knew, longer time to kill. And then they said lower headshot multipliers. That was not in any of the blog posts.
That was not in any of the blog posts.
So that they made clear as well, which will slow down even more the time to kill if you're not mixing in
a lot.
So more health and then less headshot damage as well. That's going to change. It's going to change everything. You know, it's. I understand it, but also that's like one of the fun things about being on KBAM is going for headshots because it means more. But, you know, in a multiplayer where the time to kill is already so fast, maybe you don't want that realistically, but it's like, it's rewarding and fun going for headshots, and if they don't matter a whole lot in this game, I don't know.
It could be like...
Well, it makes things less interesting when it comes to aiming.
I hear you, but do you remember BO4 where, for example, I don't remember if this is strictly true, but let's say on the... Oh my God, what's a gun? The Maddox. Let's say that it was a 5 bullets to kill, and if you mixed in a headshot, it was still 5 bullets to kill. In that case, didn't really matter if you got headshots or not, obviously. Unless you got all headshots, but no one's doing that. But on the Rampart, if you mixed in 1 headshot, it was only 3 bullets to kill, whereas if you mixed in no headshots, it was instead 4. That could be what they mean by lower headshot multipliers, where it's like on a regular-assed gun, if you only get 1 headshot, your TTK is still going to be the same as if you got 0 headshots, but we're still going to have certain weapons where headshots mean a lot more than others. Exactly like the BO4 Rampart. I think that would be a great way to handle the headshot multiplier question. Because you're right. You don't want headshots to not matter at all. Like, you definitely want them to matter. And I think the way BO4 kind of did that, which is like tying it to certain types of weapons, was a really good idea. And another thing lower headshot multipliers does is it normalizes your time to kill a lot. Because one experience we've all had, especially in the last 4 years, is you'll be playing multiplayer, you'll die, and you'll see that the person was using an AK-47, for example. And you're like, oh, okay, that, you know, I died really fucking fast there. The AK must be fucking insane. And then you die again in your next death, and you feel like you're living forever, and then you watch the kill cam and it's still an AK. And you're wondering, how the fuck is that possible that the AK has a simultaneous TTK of 50 milliseconds and 500 in these 2 separate kill cams? Well, in the first death where you died in 50 milliseconds, he got a lucky headshot that he wasn't even going for, and you instantly melted. But then when you try the AK, you never get a kill that fast, it feels like. Well, it's because of the bullshit insane headshot multiplier of 1.9 on average or some dumb shit like that. Whereas when your headshot multiplier is low, if you die to an AK, it's going to feel like about the same time every time. Yeah. Because the one lucky headshot isn't drastically reducing the TTK anymore. So I think that's really cool. I think it's really good. I think you can have lower headshot multipliers without headshots being totally useless. Yeah. And a normalized time to kill, and arguably more importantly, a normalized time to die is really important. because it's really frustrating getting one frame to a gun and then in the next life living for 3 seconds. It feels so random and uninteractable and not rewarding at all.
Yeah.
When there's so much variance in your TTKs.
Yeah.
So
overall, I think it's a good change, especially for multiplayer. All of these things as well sounds like this will be a really good COD for CDL. These are all things they like: more health, lower headshot multipliers, faster movement, ADS speeds, ninja. So it sounds like this will be a really good year for them.
Yeah.
So moving on again, there's a tweet here from the Ghost of Hope that was he just gathered info from what other people said about the reveal, I guess. So another one, we kind of already talked about this. Cutthroat is the new multiplayer game mode, 3v3v3. I don't think we knew, though, that it's round-based elimination, so it's not respawn. It's 3v3v3. You die, you're out until the round is over. So, I feel like this mode's going to be shit.
I don't care.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be just third-party central. I don't think it'll be a very fun game mode.
And what maps will this take place on?
I would imagine normal size 6's maps.
Yeah, miss me with that.
Too, there will be like one spawn of the 3 that's like so much better than the other 2, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to balance a mode like that.
Yeah, if you throw that at me, I want you to miss me with it. So, yeah, for sure. I'll never play it.
Yeah, so then there is a gear/perk known as Signal Jammer. He says this one, delay explosives from enemy lethal equipment. So it doesn't work as like a trophy system where it blocks them and eats them up. It delays it. So I guess that means someone throws a Semtex and it's beeping. If you're wearing that, or I guess maybe like a prox mine would be a good example. So
I'm thinking run into more a room. The use case is that you can run past a claymore. Yeah,
that's true. Or like prox mine or something, you wouldn't take any damage because you'd get right past it in time. Whereas right now, it's impossible to not take damage from a prox mine. If it goes off, you go prone all of it. Bug or feature, we don't know. Infinity Ward, so you take damage from it no matter what. So that's cool. Delay explosives from enemy lethal equipment. That is a perk. There's a new lethal called the Breach Drone, a lethal drone that flies in a straight path until impact of an object or player.
That sounds awful.
Doesn't sound great, right? Doesn't sound really
sounds
usable.
Useless and dog shit. Yeah. Sounds really bad.
Maybe like it could be funny in like search. I feel like there's something that like obviously this is going to be like banned in the CDL, but like you're playing like pub search or something trying to defend an objective. There's not much time left. You don't want to peek. Just throw your drone so by the time it flies across and gets there maybe 3-5 seconds later, if the guy is on the bomb, it's going to hit him and kill him without you even having to peek. It'll be interesting little plays like that, but I agree in general it's going to be dog shit. Every like lethal tactical and field upgrade in the game serve a purpose. Some of them are just close to being useless, but they all serve a purpose in some way, and this will be one of those.
Yeah.
Next, Mosquito Drone, which is a kill streak drone that dive bombs at enemy players. Wonder if it's similar to the drone in BO4, where you called them in and it would follow players around and attack them.
Oh, the the cluster Hellstorm.
Squad? What was it called?
No. Oh, you're thinking of Drone Squad.
Drone Squad, yeah. Literally drones. That kind of sounds like this.
Well, except these ones dive bomb people. The drones in BO4 just followed you around and shot people.
Well, yeah, this is probably, though, you don't have to like aim it at people. You just call it in and it'll automatically go and find people, similar to what the drone squad did in BO4. That's what I mean, is it'll automatically target people is what it sounds like. That
would be kind of cool, too, then, in that case, because those are my favorite kill streaks where you set it and forget it.
Those are great. Yeah.
It's Mantis, just like I press a button and it just kills shit.
BO4 had such fun kill streaks, dude.
Yeah, it did.
Mantis, Thresher, Drone Squad, Strike Team. So many streaks that you could just call in and not have to control any of them.
Yeah, and it just farmed for you.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
So in the ACS, which we already talked about.
We're getting looping kill streaks. What do you think? I think that era's over.
I think that era's over, yeah. I saw some people questioning that on the TL. I think Ghost of Hope was one of them. I feel like that era's done with, though. Yeah.
Which I'm okay with, honestly.
It was fun, but if you got that first loop, your team automatically won.
Yeah.
Whoever got that first loop on Nuketown, BO4, that was the winning team. Because then we would farm off of that other player.
It was just a Thresher race.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. So then your Thresher would about to be over. I would get ready to call mine in. Boom, called mine in. It would be insane. We would have Sniper's Nest. We would actually have Mantis, Thresher, Sniper's Nest, like fucking drone. We'd have like 5 streaks in the air at once between the two of us. We wouldn't have to shoot our guns.
We would strategically set our kill streaks so that they could all overlap, except Thresher, I think. So it would be like, I would run Sniper's Nest, Strike Team, Thresher, and you would run like Mantis, Drone Squad, Thresher.
Yeah.
Because besides the Thresher, we could have all 4 of the other streaks up at the same time. And plus the Thresher, we would have 5 kill streaks. So we would have a Sniper's Nest and a Strike Team and a Mantis and a Thresher and the Drone Squad all at the same time. We would purposely not both be running Mantis or whatever. It was insanely goofy and overpowered, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is also before crossplay, so we could actually do it every game.
Yeah, that was...
God, it was fun.
Yeah, I feel like there's one we're missing. Drone Strike, Care Package, Guardian, Hellstorm,
It wasn't Drone Squad, I know that, because that was hackable, so we're definitely missing one.
Stealth Chopper.
It was something else.
Escort Drone. No, these are...
Maybe it was just Attack Helicopter was hackable
that's
too.
That's the wrong game. I was like, no, these don't sound familiar. That was BO2. A lot of them are similar. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But anyways, yeah, that was fun. So I'm not sure about loopable kill streaks. I'm with you. I think that era is done.
Yeah.
So then ACS, we already talked about. That's the little bud that caps flags for you. A field upgrade of the Calm Scrambler keeps any friendly player within the range of the Scrambler off radar. So we had that in BO4, that jammer thing you threw down at jammed the area. But this probably doesn't show up on the mini map as a jam.
Exactly. That was the difference. So there have been perks like this too, and there's been some variation of this in a bunch of COD games, but they were always dog shit because like if you're running the perk, like the Scrambler perk, for example, it's like, yeah, it jams the enemy's mini maps. But when I see my minimap is jammed, I know some enemy with scramblers around me. So it really wasn't that good at all. But if this works actually is the way he writes it, where I put down the field upgrade in a corner of a room, and enemy players don't see anything on their minimap, any scramble effect. In other words, they don't know it's there. And then I can be in the radius and be off minimap, and other players don't know that a Calm Scrambler is working to scramble me. That would be really, really good. But if it is like BO4, where it's the thing you put down and then there's a circle of static on the minimap, then it's fucking miserable dog shit trash because people just know it's a scrambled area. So I do wonder how that's going to work. But I would like for it to not scramble the minimap so that it actually has some purpose, I think. It might be too good if it works that way, but I'd like to see it in game.
Yeah, if it doesn't show the other team, that could be a little busted, but we'll see.
Yeah, it could be a little too good, actually. But if it shows the scramble, then it's just useless. So I want something.
It's also a field upgrade, so this won't be that commonly used, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll have 10 other field upgrades at least, I'm sure. So, and then last thing, there's a gear/perk called Detector. And he says detects when enemy lasers are pointing at you, and then in parentheses he said high alert ? So yeah, I'm not sure
so awful.
Why it would say that. It's probably so just high alert. It's probably not actually lasers, or there's some weird thing where every single gun in the game will have a default laser. I don't know. I would imagine this is just high alert. It's just, I don't know, something to do with how it's worded.
Yeah, that's weird. That's fucking weird. Yeah. If it detects when enemies are aiming at you and they're actually on the reticles on your character, that could be interesting. That could be an interesting variation of high alert. Yeah. Rather than someone looking at you, you only get the alert when someone is aiming at you. That actually, you could maybe argue that would be better than high alert even. Because then when you get the alert, you know that you're like in danger. Because right now, like in Warzone, if you run high alert on Vondel, you always have the alert and you never know if it matters or not.
Yeah, they haven't fixed that, by the way. There's another bug they never fixed.
It could be like you're on the corner of someone's screen and they have no idea you're there, but you're still getting the high alert noti. But if it instead worked where you only get the high alert when someone's literally aiming at you, that would make it I don't know if that's better or worse than how High Alert works now, but it would certainly be quite interesting. I would like to see that a lot, actually, if it does work that way. And then to balance it better, let's say that's worse than High Alert. If it is worse than High Alert, then to balance it and still make it worth putting into the game, you put it in a less competitive perk slot category, where instead of in the goated perk slot category like High Alert's in, you put it in like the second one, where you don't have to give up as good of another perk to use it. Yeah. That's interesting. I like that idea if that's what it means, but yeah, I don't know.
So that's it from that. So then moving on, we have some tweets here from Charlie Intel. So we started with this. We discussed this briefly, but during our briefing at Sledgehammer Games, we were shown a TAC map over the new Warzone map. It has the same outline as Los Alamos, but everything else was different. Set in the Middle East with desert terrain. Whereas Los Alamos, the images we've seen, it's like desert vibes, parts of it, but then also there's a lot of like mountains and greenery. So I don't know. It's like
Mexico, where it's like fairly desert-y, but I mean, Mexico's a huge country, so yeah, scratch that. But it's like parts of Southern California where it's like pretty dry, but there are definitely like woods and like green and shit.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, we have a lot of that.
It's not like the fucking Amazon rainforest, but there are like bushes and trees and greenery, but it's also fairly dry, so there's a lot of dirt also. That's what Los Alamos
High desert is a great way to put it, absolute. Yeah, because it is like...
And that's what I said.
Like the high desert here in Southern California. They call it the high desert because the elevation where I live is, I don't know, 1,000 feet maybe, something like that. High desert is like 4,000, 4,500 or so. So then like right on the edge of the high desert, you get into the mountains, and then it's the mountains. You drive up a little road, but it's like very, very close. So that's kind of what Los Alamos reminds me of. But anyway, yes. So to that tweet, Metaphor responds to Ghost of Hope and says, "This definitely isn't a desert map." And
Charlie Intel.
And then that was the Metaphor tweet. Oh. And then Blue responds to Charlie Intel also and says, "The new Warzone map definitely isn't a desert, LOL." And Blue and Metaphor are buddies. Metaphor is the one who leaks a few things a year, and he has a 100% track record of being correct.
They're also smarter than Ghost of Hope and Charlie Intel.
Charlie Intel also doesn't play the game ever, so he kind of, I think, doesn't understand things.
So it's not a desert.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say, I would trust Metaphor and Blue on this.
And Ghost of Hope said a different thing, then the Ghost of Hope is wrong.
I don't think Ghost of Hope is saying that's thing. He's just basing it off of what other people have said, like Charlie Intel, that changing it to a desert map is lame. I don't know if he agrees with that necessarily. He's not the one leaking that it's changed to a desert map, basically, is what I'm saying. But
okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like it's going to be like a full dry desert like we have now with Los Alamos. Or, I mean, Al-Mazrah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that is it for that, and then we'll get into zombies now.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't give a fuck if it's a desert or not. If the visibility is good, you can make it Cotton Candy Land. I don't care. I don't know why people care about this, but
dope, actually.
Yeah, if as long as there aren't pink skins, it'd be really good visibility.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's it. So, okay, yeah, now we're going to move into zombies. So there was a lot of zombies info as well. Arguably more than multiplayer info, actually. Yeah. So we're going to take it back to JGOD's video. This is the same video that I referenced at the beginning of this episode, but these are all the zombie-specific things he talked about. One thing he said is the map for zombies kind of looked like whatever the next BR map is going to be. And what he meant by that is that it was really fucking big. Like BR map sized. And I guess maybe he thought for another reason it might look like the next BR map. He didn't elaborate, but he said the map kind of looks like whatever the next BR map is going to be. So it's a BR sized map. That much is certain. The new zombies experience. There are also 24 players on the map as of now. This is one of those things that is definitely subject to change. Even if it launched with 24 players on the map, that is subject to change post-launch as well. This is one of the things that Activision is very flexible with, which is player counts. They are ready and able to increase or decrease player counts on their maps all the time, but 24 is roughly the amount of players we're going to have on the zombies map, which is 6 teams of 4 players. And as a reminder, for those of you who missed the last episode, the new zombies experience is going to be 60 minutes max, 6 teams of 4 players. So it's going to be online. You can extract whenever you want, and there's no PvP. So there are other players in your lobby. You can't do damage to them. So that's just all rehashing. Yeah. But yeah, 24 players on the map. That's new info. That sounds like very few people, by the way, especially for a BR-sized map. Imagine 24 people at the beginning of your match in Al Mazrah, and also there isn't any gas, so the first circle's the entire map. You might as well be playing by yourself. That's how few people that is, actually.
Yeah, it is. Huh?
I'm not kidding.
And again, there's no PvP.
You'd have to go outside of your way to see other people. You wouldn't just accidentally see other people. 24 people on the entirety of Al Mazrah from the beginning with no gas, so you could go wherever you want. You would never see anyone else ever.
Yeah, you'd only hear people shooting and stuff.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to me.
I guess,
that pretty surprising to you?
I mean, not really. I didn't expect like 100 or 150 players or anything.
I didn't expect 100, but
I feel like it's probably a good size, because also, since it's going to be like mission based, I'm sure there are certain areas, like we'll get into other stuff later, like that I put in here, but it sounds like there will be a lot of people going to the same areas to do certain like quests, essentially. So I think you'll see them a lot, which will actually be kind of cool, because it's like, shit, it would almost be dope if you're kind of stuck somewhere, and if there's like, you can type in game or something and be like, holy shit, can someone come help us? We're like fucking dying over here. Or you can kind of like complete missions with other people. I think it'll be fun, and that's a good amount of people to deal with things like that, because there will always be people who are probably like, wiped pretty early into the match anyways. I think that'll be like a good size with, it'll feel like you and your team are by yourself and give you that feeling of being like overrun with zombies, but also you just know that certain areas there will be other players there, but it won't just be like dumb because there are players driving all over the map or flying helicopters or something constantly. So I think the player counts, I think it's probably pretty good. Yeah. I like the idea of that.
Yeah. Maybe I communicated poorly. I'm not saying 24 players on the map is necessarily a bad thing. It's just like, that sounds like really few for a map that is BR sized. But like you said, I think you're right. I would much rather have too few players than too many, because it would be a real joke to have 150 people, like you said. Like, you seeing a bunch of other squads, you're trying to just chill and kill zombies, and like 3 other teams come and kill the zombies you're trying to like farm Aether on. That would be really shit. So yeah, I'm not like mad about it, but
yeah,
it is potentially surprising. So anyway, another thing JGOD said, he's like, yeah, you load in, you loot up, you get your perks, you can pack a punch, you can do all the normal zombie shit you're familiar with. One thing that is interesting though, and this is new, you can exfil with these things and you will keep them on you for a future run. Kind of like DMZ, but better. So for example, you load into a zombies match, you find a fucking ray gun, you pack a punch it 3 times, and then you say, I'm out, bitch. You exfil, and then when you load into your next zombies match, you'll have Juggernog, Speed Cola, and your ray gun pack a punched 3 times at the very beginning of the next match. That is super interesting to me. Super interesting to me. And that has a lot of tie-ins with DMZ, which a lot of people have already been talking about. Will this replace DMZ?
Yeah.
This makes it more likely that it will, in fact, be replacing DMZ, because that mechanic is so similar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're definitely not creating any sort of new DMZ type mode. Like we said, I feel like DMZ is just kind of going to be not updated a whole lot, but they're not going to remove it from the game entirely. Yeah. Yeah, this sounds cool. I like that idea of kind of, it's I don't know. I still don't like the 60-minute exfil thing, but the things that I've heard too is like there are different regions of the large map that are basically sub maps within it, and some of those areas are very, very difficult because you think like if I like exfil and then I have a level 3 ray gun, then I load back in, it's going to be like too easy. But there are regions that are going to be much more difficult. Like think of DMZ now,
I was gonna raise
like a
that
black
point.
site. It's more AI, they're more armored, they're better. And it's probably going to be like that with this as well, where like you get to those areas. So like say you don't even have a ray gun, you guys have like base guns, you don't have perks. If you go to those areas, you're just going to be overrun and die to the zombies. Because also, unlike DMZ, the zombies will chase you. So if you like aggro them and don't have the means to kill them, they're going to chase you down and eventually will just kill you. Whereas like DMZ, you can actually just walk around the corner and they don't chase you, you know? So I think that's like the big difference too, is certain regions will be much more difficult than others.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was my worry as well, is like if I load in and I get my ray gun and all my perks, and then I load into the next match, if the zombies are going to be defeatable without a ray gun, then having one is going to really trivialize every other match, won't it? But I guess if there are regions that are like designed around that, then that wouldn't be a concern. But then you'd like kind of be forced to always be fighting at those regions.
You know, another thing, do the zombies like respawn? Like how does that work similar to like round base? Because let's say there's another team on the map that clears. Let's say we're on Verdansk and some team is there doing stuff at hospital and we go to hospital 10 minutes later. They killed all the zombies there. Do they just respawn out of thin air, or is that area going to be clear? Because if there's not some sort of like respawn mechanic too, that will make it boring if other people are killing the zombies. Like there needs to be a shitload of zombies everywhere, and they need some sort of respawn mechanic. But how do they make a respawn mechanic in like the middle of the map? Because like in round base, they come from outside the map, they come through, and that's how they respawn. How do they do that on a large scale map like this to make it somewhat, you know, I know it's not realistic, but in their mind, a realistic way of respawning? So
they don't just like
they don't
like
just
spawn.
Appear in front of you like Tarkov scavs just will spawn in front of you.
My guess on how that's going to work is hospital will have an icon on it, like a stronghold icon or a black site icon. And if a team other than yours, or any team actually, I guess, clears it, the icon will change color or something. So it'll be like a green circle. So you won't even bother going to hospital because you'll know there won't be zombies there. That would be my guess as to how.
Or I guess they could respawn out of rooms you can't get in. So like say there's some door you can't access, but zombies can bust through.
Or like
those.
some underground layer you can't get in. Yeah. Or even like fucking crazy portals. That's exactly what I was going to say.
because this is the Dark Ether storyline as well.
And they could start pouring out of those too.
Because it's that same storyline. It's continuing that. So yeah, that could be it. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. I think. I do have a lot of questions mechanically though about how this is going to work, mainly relating to zombie difficulty, because it's really easy to balance how strong the zombies are in round based, because like round 1 they have like 100 health, they die in one headshot, and that's that. And then, you know, round 10 they have like 300 health, and you're expected to have gotten a better gun by then, so they do more damage, and they take more damage to kill. How do you do that in this type of experience without rounds? And especially if I can bring in my gear from last match, how do you do that? Because like you said, oh, well, there's going to be specific zones that are intended to only be survivable with like your maxed out ray gun or whatever. Like, okay, that's cool. But so we have like the maxed out ray gun areas, and we have the this is my first game of zombies ever areas. What about everything in between? Are like, what is that going to be like? Like, I get that there's going to be areas on the map that are like round 50 of round-based zombies, and then areas that are going to be like round 1. But we need zombies that are like round 30 or round 25, where it's like, I don't have my shit maxed yet, but I'm also not like with a pistol, you know? And if they're ray gun strength zombies and I don't have a ray gun yet, I'm going to get rolled. And if they're level 1 zombies, I'm going to fucking roll them and it's going to be super boring. How do you scale up to that point? Because I get having black site type areas, but in DMZ, it's a binary. It's either dog shit AI on the street or fucking juggernauts and shit in black sites. It's only 2 levels of difficulty. But if you're going to be able to pack a punch, 1, 2, 3, get all the perks, how do you have that many different types of zombies? And even if you add in all those different types of zombies, how do you ensure players know what the correct area is for the strength of zombie they should be encountering with the strength of the current gear they have?
Well, I think
have
it's
no
how
idea how you solve
I think
that.
it's how the mission system is going to be set up. You're going to have like missions similar to DMZ where you go to certain areas and do certain things. And as you start doing more missions, it'll tell you to go to different areas, and those areas will be harder. And like
That
DMZ
makes
right
sense.
now, when you
That
go to
makes
certain
sense.
regions, it'll say you're in hydro, and it'll say like threat level high. And that just means I think there are a shitload of AI there. I don't think it necessarily means they're better, but it just means there are a lot of them. And zombies will probably have that where it'll be like threat level in this area or like difficulty in this region, low. Difficulty in this region, medium. Difficulty in this region, high. Difficulty in this region, impossible or something. Where like you have to have extremely high level gear to get in there.
Yeah,
That's what I would
that
think.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Sounds very DMZ-esque.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see if they can pull it off. I mean, it can be done in theory, but we still, just like multiplayer, we still have a lot of questions. But anyway, next point here. Last point, in fact, from the JGOD video. You can take out schematics from a zombies game, and you can build things so that you can, for example, have Juggernog every time. So that's what JGOD said, and it was kind of unclear to me. I don't know if that means... I don't know what that means. So if I like find a schematic and I exfil with it, that means I can like build Juggernog and equip it out of raid. That's like kind of what that implies, but he was not super clear about what the schematic system means. And if you can like equip perks like Juggernog out of raid, because that was not possible in Cold War Zombies. You could level up Juggernog in Cold War Zombies by spending your Dark Aether crystals. But what it would do is it would say, okay, you have purchased 5 upgrades for Juggernog in Zombies. When you load into your next Zombies match, you get none of the benefits of level 5 Juggernog since you don't have Juggernog in your current match yet. But as soon as you drink a Juggernog, it's going to be way better than normal because you've spent those crystals outside of the match. That's how that worked. It was never the case that you could just have Juggernog right away. You still had to go and equip it before you could get the additional benefits. This schematic system, JGOD kind of made it sound like it's different than that. Maybe that's a component where you can upgrade the effects of Juggernog, but in addition to that, you can just equip Juggernog right away and you'll have it like as soon as you load in. I don't really know, but it was all contingent on this schematic thing, which I think is a cool idea if I knew how it worked.
Well, it sounds again like the DMZ added that workbench or something.
Yeah.
Something in where you can craft things. It sounds just like that. So again, this is just Zombies DMZ. That's kind of what we're getting at here.
Yeah.
Which I'll take. I'd rather have that than... I'd rather fight zombies that chase you rather than AI that just stand still and shoot at you and have too much armor to kill. It's uninteresting. The zombie world is much more exciting. Zombies will also be like... The map will probably... Well, I don't know. I was going to say the map will probably be night, but the screenshots we've seen, it's all daytime, which is interesting.
It'll
be
look
like
way
a night
better
cycle
too.
or something.
That's
it's just a
thing
different
we never
vibe.
talk about is Zombies looks cool. There's like fucking glowing crystals and shit, and there's a lot of bright colors, and they're shooting fucking lasers out of their mouths and shit. And it's all it's a feast for the eyes. Whereas DMZ, oh, cool. It's Coney Group. They're fucking guys in black balaclavas. Oh, cool. It's, Blackwater. It's more guys in black balaclavas shooting guns that I have already seen a billion times. It's fucking boring. So, yeah. If it's just, anyway. But yeah, that was pretty much it from the JGOD video in terms of new zombies info.
Yeah.
But a lot of interesting stuff there, actually.
Yeah.
So we have a couple more things.
Yeah, so moving on thing. This is from Noah J, who is a zombies YouTuber. So this is kind of a list that someone else made in its regard to his video. So Noah said up to 6-player squads, and they specifically say here, contradicting others who said 4-player squads. So either he just got this info wrong or he understood things better. I'm not sure, but he is just a zombies guy, and he's saying up to 6-player squads. So my guess, maybe, again, like DMZ, you can queue up to 4, and then if someone has like 2 teammates and they die or like their teammates leave, maybe you can join together like DMZ and form up to 6, but you can queue with 4. I don't know. Or he could just have heard it wrong.
This could also be just a miscommunication where someone said there's up to 6-player squads, and what they meant by that was that there are up to 6 teams of 4, but the person who heard it interpreted it as there are up to 6 people per team. Yeah. That's kind of what this sounds like to me, actually. Is
6 squads of players. Yeah, so that's what I think. Everyone else is saying up to 4, so that's probably true, so they say, on the outskirts of the map, there will be human and zombie AI. So there's going to be a human element to it also. Other? Yeah, no more info on that, but that's weird. Yeah, maybe
if there are human AI and zombie AI and they fight each other, that would make the world feel much more lived in and cool. I would love to see that.
That would add to the mission element too, that it's like Jack is fucking stuck in this house with his family. He's overrun by zombies. Get over there as quickly as you can and save him. And he's fucking sitting in a window barking off with his shotgun and zombies are overrunning him. So maybe it's that. Maybe you like go in and you help human AI in different missions. You get his family, you go and extract with them. I like that idea. Yeah. I think that's cute. Yeah. So mimics, abominations, etc. will be more in the middle of the map. So again, maybe you spawn on the outskirts, and then as you get further into the middle of the map too, that's how it gets more difficult. Maybe they're doing it that way.
Yeah, that would be a pretty easy way to balance it, actually.
Just simply as you go further
just around a circle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because then it's like no matter where you are, that would be a smart way to do it, actually. Is like just radiating circles of difficulty.
And that would help with the respawn mechanic, you can
spawn in wherever you want. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's true too. So you can spawn in wherever you want. Just make sure you're on the outskirts. They could even have that on the map where it's like this circle, the first biggest circle is like level 1. And then like the second big circle, it's more interior, level 2, level 3, level 4. And then it'll just recommend what level of circle you're in based on what your gear is or whatever.
Yeah.
That would be super easy too. And then you wouldn't have to follow a linear path. You could still play in a ton of different areas per level of difficulty because there's still like a whole ass circle. So you don't have to play like the same route every single time you have that particular quality of gear or whatever. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
He says the world is full of secrets, so like all zombies game, there's lore and other shit. Juggernog confirmed, so you can bring in different things from missions before, like DMZ, you can bring in a ray gun. Mission sub-maps has only your squad. It's more of a linear mission with a cutscene. So again, you probably get to certain regions, and you like begin a mission or quest or something, and then essentially it's just your team. It's like no one else is there.
This is almost certainly going to be like this thing from Outbreak, where there was a type of mission where you picked it up and then you got teleported to like one tiny ass little room and you had to survive for 2 minutes. And it was fucking hard, by the way.
Yeah.
But do you remember how once you teleported, you were in like a separate instanced zone? It's probably going to work exactly the same way.
Yeah. Because again, the portals and shit will be in this too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably what it'll be like.
Yeah.
They said it's, quote, very, very
bigger.
difficult. Yeah.
That's really good. It needs to be difficult to be replayable.
Yeah. Different contracts and side missions. Full story ties to Treyarch storyline confirmed to be tied to Modern Warfare. Oh, okay. 3 levels of human AI. There are strongholds. Oh, I didn't even see that part. So there we go. Levels of human AI. So that makes it sound like you fight them also. That sounds dumb. I hope that's not the way it is.
It sounds like you fight the humans, yeah. Maybe not all of them, but there's definitely some human AI.
What are they, fucking teaming up with zombies?
Fighting.
Something dumb like that? That will be cringe if so.
I think it would be kind of cool, though, again, to like, let's say you get a mission to infiltrate a stronghold, and like an Alcatala stronghold or whatever, and you get to the Alcatala stronghold, and they are already fighting off hordes of zombies. And then you have to like clear a path through the zombies and then get in the stronghold yourself.
Too. That's true.
So like every single team is all enemies. So the humans, the Alcatala wants to kill you. Alcatala wants to kill the zombies. Zombies want to kill everyone. And then you want to kill everyone. So it's like team versus team versus team. It would at least feel more lived in if I drove past a stronghold and there's AI fighting another AI faction and they're like, you know, whatever, doing shit. That would be really cool. Because right now in DMZ, it feels like all the AI are just waiting for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel real. It feels fake.
They just stand there. Yeah, that's true.
They're just waiting for you. That's it. Like their existence in the world is for you to roll up and kill them. But if they were like already fighting zombies, it would feel more immersive, I think.
It just doesn't make sense. That
is important.
It just doesn't make sense from like the story standpoint. It's like these guys are also surviving out here in a stronghold killing zombies. Why am I killing the zombies and then also killing them? It's just like weird. I don't know. I would prefer there be like almost like friendly human AI that you save or something that are fighting.
I think that would be really cool too. Yeah.
And maybe that will be the case. I don't know.
There could be both. Yeah, it's possible.
And then last thing, you can use schematics again to have permanent upgrades and temporary upgrades. I don't know what permanent means. Maybe something outside of the game. Like,
where the Juggernog effects are better. Yeah. Or you do more damage with like, like
the crystal things. Yeah. Where it's like you level it up to this way, every melee weapons do 5% more damage, 10% more damage. Okay, that's probably
what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Which is great, which is awesome. That was my favorite part of Cold War Zombies.
Another replayable feature.
Exactly. Like
keep grinding for that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then that's it from Noah J. So then last one's here. So Mr. Dalek JD, who is like again a zombies lore YouTuber, been around a long time. He kind of did like a little Q&A on his Twitter. Basically, he's like, if you guys have any questions, ask. If I can provide info, I will. So just got some different questions here. To start with, for the Modern Warfare 3 Zombies briefing, it was presented by Kevin Drew, Associate Director of Design for Treyarch, in charge of Zombies systems and Outbreak for Cold War. He did not work on Vanguard Zombies. Make of that what you will. Which I did forget about that. That was also the other thing with Vanguard Zombies. The team that worked on it was not Treyarch Zombies team. It was like another group.
The C team.
It was like, it was like the shit squad. It was the people on the bench, yeah.
It was Treyarch. It was fucking Treyarch Montreal. Yeah. Just like some dog shit auxiliary trash team. They're Canadian, of course. They're auxiliary. Yeah. Americans are the main characters in real life.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, anyone associated with Vanguard Zombies, I don't want to fucking touch Cold War or MW3 Zombies. So yeah, that is good. And he said, make of that what you will, to be polite. That's what he's trying to say. He's trying to say like that guy, the guy that's working on MW3 did not work on Vanguard Zombies, and that's a good thing. That's what he means by that, with a wink and a nod. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So first question someone asked, seen talks of pay to win in Zombies with how DMZ went, and seeing Zombies as kind of like it. Do you see any way they would go the route with pay to win in Zombies, like how supply drops weren't supposed to be purchased? So Dalek, I'll call him John because that's what his Twitter name says. So
him
John says,
yeah.
I can see them monetizing the, quote, acquisitions system, where you can go into the game with special buffs like Jug on spawn or a ray gun. Currently, you can find them in the map and exfil with them, or earn the ability to craft them on a cooldown. I can also see bundles coming equipped with certain immediate buffs, but this is a complete assumption at the moment. That's a good assumption, though. They will for sure have pay-to-win zombies gear, which is fine because zombies isn't PvP. It's only PvE. So if you want to pay to get Juggernog every single raid, fighting AI zombies because you're too dog shit and you die to them, then whatever. That's not like actually a pay-to-win feature since it's PvE and not PvE.
I agree.
It's not ruining someone else's experience. So
exactly.
That will most certainly be coming. Next question, someone asked, what is the gameplay loop? Will it be objective-based progression or more DMZ where you collect and extract? John says, from what I understand, it's loot and extract to build yourself up stronger to tackle the most difficult areas of the map. During this, you will also be completing missions, assuming faction mission style like DMZ, that progress the story, and this will be broken down into 3 acts with a cutscene at the end of each act. So yeah, again, faction missions in DMZ, it's like maybe completing tier 1 is like completing act 1. Tier 2 is act 2. So this is zombies DMZ.
This sounds exactly like the gameplay loop of another Blizzard title called Diablo. So Diablo 4, the core gameplay loop is you make a character, you go into the world, you make your character stronger. Once your character is stronger, then you do a more difficult challenge that rewards you with better gear that makes you stronger for you to do an even further more difficult challenge that rewards you with even further stronger gear that makes you even further stronger to do the next challenge that's even harder. Repeat ad infinitum. That's kind of what the same gameplay loop sounds like we're working with here. Maybe it's only 3 acts, but it's still a similar thing where you go in, you can't do all 3 acts on your first raid. You don't have the time, but even if you did, you don't have the strength yet. Yeah. You don't have enough perks. You don't have a good enough gun. You don't have the ray gun pack-a-punched 8 times, whatever. So you go in, you do what you can, you extract with what you can. It makes you a little stronger, and then you can chip away at getting even more buffs in your next raid, even more pack-a-punches on your gun. And then you go in again, and then eventually you'll be strong enough to conquer Act 3 or whatever. And I think that is a fucking awesome way to do zombies.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. And there's a reason Diablo has been a wildly successful franchise for decades now, is because that gameplay loop is fun and appealing to a lot of people. The only concern I have is if I complete Act 3, is there more for me to conquer or achieve? And this is what round-based zombies solved. That Outbreak, for example, or maybe not Outbreak, but non-round-based wouldn't solve, is like, let's say I play round-based and I survive 180 rounds. Okay, well, I could always survive 181 rounds, so I'm going to queue again. Or I could always survive 200 or 300 or a fucking 1,000. There's nowhere, it doesn't end. You can always like get to another round. So there's a literal infinite, probably not literally, but a virtually infinite level steps of progression and ways you can go further. Is that going to be true in this zombies experience after you complete Act 3? Yeah, doesn't sound like it.
Yep.
Doesn't sound like it, which could be fine, because I think the idea is by the time you complete Act 3, Season 2 comes out next week and they're adding more content.
Exactly.
And then maybe they wipe also, so you don't have your ray gun anymore. And then you have to go through that gameplay loop from scratch once the game wipes, like Tarkov. And then that gives it the replayability by virtue of updates, which I think would be awesome. I think that would be exactly how they should do it. As long as they tell people up front, hey, the game's going to wipe, by the way. Yeah. Don't make that mistake again.
Yeah, also, just so we're clear, if this ends up being a flop on launch, there's a very high chance they would end up releasing round-based zombies in like season 3, season 2. They did it in Vanguard when everyone was like, this shit is miserable. They released round-based. It's not hard for them to do. They would cut off a part of the map or remaster one of the maps they've remastered 1,000 times and do round-based too. I can totally see them doing that if this ends up being a flop. But also, you know, maybe the tier 3 missions, and like DMZ, they added more tiers. I think the game started with 3 and then ended up being up to tier 5 missions, and there's an extra faction. So they'll do stuff like that every season. But then also, you know, maybe like the hardest missions are like literally kill 10,000 zombies in this region, and that's like the hardest region. So it makes you just keep having to go back there, kill them over and over again. Kind of gives you a reason to replay it to complete that. Maybe it's like a really good reward you get, like a, I don't know, a cool ray gun skin
like
or something.
Like an insane, yeah.
Regardless, I don't think it's possible for this to have the same replayability that OG zombie players have with round base. That's what they like. They like the high number. They like the round base. So this will, I think, be more interesting and have a wider player base in general.
Broader appeal, yeah,
but less. The zombie mains will not like this. They don't like anything else than round base,
totally
and they don't ever change their mind on that.
I think you're totally spot on correct. I think the broader appeal is going to be so much higher.
Yeah.
But the super giga dedicated nerds, they're going to complete Act 3 in 2 weeks, and then they're going to be like pretty upset.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else for them to go for. But like for people like you and I, if this is fun, dude, that's going to be awesome. Because we're going to have a zombies 3 acts to do that are new and different and fun every single season, like a Tarkov wipe, in addition to having multiplayer in Warzone.
Yeah.
Because we would already have that right now with DMZ if DMZ was fun, which it's not.
Yeah.
So if they just made the game fun, then that would be great.
And
for
zombies alone will
people.
make it so much more fun. Zombies in the zombie world is 1,000 times more interesting than AI standing there on the map we use for Warzone.
Exactly.
Yeah, not interesting.
Exactly.
Anyways, okay, we already said that one.
This is getting me excited,
So,
dude.
2 questions. Do we have to unlock areas with points or other ways like we unlock doors with points in other maps, or is the whole map available to explore from the get-go? Also, any info on Easter eggs. So he says, 1, for the unlocking areas, no idea, but if it's like Outbreak and DMZ, then no, whole map will be available, I'm consuming. He says there are secrets to explore and find. That's all we know so far, and he wants Easter egg quests, so that's all they know. When they say like secrets, that's some sort of Easter egg, though, of course. He did confirm the ray gun was coming. Another question. My main question is, how many zombies are there in the map? Please tell me there are massive hordes that run at you and you can defend a spot with like 24 people. So I genuinely don't know how many, but I would assume a lot more than Outbreak. If DMZ has an AI number, I'd imagine this will be similar, if not more. It should be a lot more than DMZ.
It should be way more than DMZ.
It should be like 10 times the amount as DMZ.
Yes. Yeah.
Then again, he said missions like DMZ from the looks of it. So is it strictly 1 hour of playtime and then you must exfil, no possibility for longer sessions? And he confirms, yep, that's the way it works. So yeah, that's gonna be the weird thing, is having to get out within 60 minutes. And you're gonna have to, it sounds like DMZ also, where you have to get to like an exfil helicopter or something, or an exfil portal. And then somewhere in there he said like you have to like defend the exfil until it's ready to be used. So again, that could be the portal. Maybe like one guy has to like do a couple things to start the portal and get it working, and then the other 2 guys on your team are trying to defend the zombie horde. Well, those guys get it going, and then you can finally extract. You know, similar to like how the helicopter works in DMZ.
And again, this is exactly like you just said, which is that the super dedicated core zombies player base hates this, as they should, but having an hour per session max, that has way more broad appeal. And for most zombies players, they would rather this system than a round-based mode, because that's one of the things, like, even when I would play zombies, like I'd play zombies sometimes with my friend Gabe in Cold War, and there were multiple times where we would get to round, like, I don't know, 70 or something, and we've been playing for like 3 or 4 hours, and we're like, all right, We definitely have the chops to keep going longer, but I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. I'm done playing zombies. So we're just going to exfil now because I'm like, I don't want to play anymore. But it would be really nice to be able to save that progress and revisit it tomorrow when Gabe and I have, gone to sleep and ate breakfast or some shit. And that wasn't possible in round-based zombies without like just pausing our game and leaving our computer running until we're ready to play again, which is obviously impractical. And then the other possible circumvention of that would be having round-based zombies and being able to save what round you're on and continue the game later, but that also sounds impractical and kind of dumb. So the big thing that's missing for most people who play zombies is having progression for a long time where you feel like you're constantly progressing through the zombies experience without having to dedicate 16 hours in one sitting to playing, which is what round-based forces you to do. So this is, I think, on the whole, if there is a lot of cool progression between matches, across matches, rather, this is actually way better for most people, myself included, no doubt.
Yeah.
Because you're still progressing like a round-based experience, but you don't have to do it all in one sitting because you can only play for an hour max per match. And that carries over to the next match. I think it's better, but it does snub the most hardcore of zombies players. That's the downside. And, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Have both. That's my solution.
Yeah, exactly. Have both. And again, if this flops, they will add round-based. It's not difficult for them to do. May take a while, may take a couple seasons, but they would end up doing it for sure. And the last thing I want to talk about, we want to end with this. David Vonderhaar, Treyarch lead designer. I don't know technically what his title is. Treyarch multiplayer lead has left the company. So he tweeted this, or he put it on LinkedIn. Today I'm sharing I've left Activision and Treyarch after incredible 18 years and 8 Call of Duty games. Vundi Vonderhaar, it's who you hear all the time. That's this guy. So to my coworkers at Treyarch, I'm immensely grateful for the time we invested working to improve our craft, never sitting on successes and always wondering how to improve what design and how we produce it. Thank you to the Call of Duty community for your passion and enthusiasm. That energy has often fueled our determination as a studio and individuals. I will always be grateful for the opportunity to interact with so many of you directly, online, and in person. This energy will always be a massive part of me. I'm staying in the games industry working on an undisclosed project I can't discuss yet, but I am excited about a rare and unique opportunity. I'll update you as soon as possible. So he'll probably be designing another first-person shooter type game.
Yeah.
So Treyarch also said this.
Will he bring the Vundi Bop to another franchise? Only time will tell.
Yeah, so he says that Treyarch tweeted this: farewell to the legendary David Vonderhaar, whose discipline, creativity, and innovation helped shape our games from Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1 to Black Ops Cold War. His iconic phrases and groundbreaking ideas will be missed. Excited for your next adventure. Thank you, Vaughn. So yeah, biggest thing here is there are a lot of people worried about this because I've seen a lot of people say, like, if he's leaving at this time, does this mean like development is not going well on the next game and he's just kind of done with it? Is Activision again tying their hands and not letting them do what they want or something, and he's not happy about this? There are a lot of people that think now, a lot of the OG COD developers are gone. Here's the thing, they've been gone for a long time, most of them.
There were very few left. So fucking long.
For so
long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They left and created Respawn, who the dev team that made Apex, so they've been gone for fucking years. Yeah, he was like the last OG. But yeah, so does this mean worse Treyarch games going forward? I don't know. Probably not. Only if Pat Kelly and Joe Seacott take over Treyarch instead, or Infinity Ward absorbs Treyarch, then that would be very bad. But yeah, so 18 years, real OG, always been like a fan favorite. He's been like the most beloved. He's been the most beloved for sure. Yeah. Of all the studio heads, yeah. Good old Vundi, the creator of the Vundi Bop. For those of you who played BO4, the Vundi Bop technique
was where you do literally 1 point of damage to someone, and then if you melee them after that, they'll die. So the strat was to like start shooting someone, and then as soon as you get one hit marker, you just melee them and they'll die. And it was incredibly powerful. It was the Vundi bop, as Syrian, rest in peace, would say.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Dead, but
I don't know.
Dead.
Vundi is Vundi was cool, I guess. And now he's gone. Yeah. If people think he's leaving Activision because he's unhappy at Activision, you're outside of your mind. Here's what actually happened. Some headhunters approached him with a hands and fists full of cash and said, "Hey, do you want to come work for us for way more money than you're making now?" And then Vundi said, "Why, yes, I would love to do that." That's why he left Activision. It's not like he's like upset at his lack of creative control or whatever. I don't believe that for a second. So I wouldn't worry about that. And yeah, will Treyarch feel much different? No, not really. I mean, they already have all of the blueprints for what makes Treyarch games good, you know.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Treyarch doesn't have like the vibe it has right now because of Vundi anymore. And if he leaves, they still are going to have that vibe. And so I don't think him leaving is going to be even noticeable to anyone. He's only one guy, and so I don't know.
He's always
I think
seemed
most of
to
the
be...
executive decisions are being made by Activision anyway at this point.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious how much impact he had on Cold War, honestly. But
he was
my
like
guess
very
is
outspoken.
not as much as you guys would think.
Yeah. He did like communicate a lot and was very outspoken with certain things.
Yeah, he was cool. We'll miss him, but I don't think it's the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think mostly, again, CDL players are big fans of him. I guess he's always worked well with them and tried to cater to those type of players.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? I think
no.
Tanner's internet might have died.
What do you mean?
Tanner, can you hear me?
Oh,
Are you
I
muted?
somehow muted myself on Discord, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyways,
So we good?
Yeah. I think that was
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, boys and girls, Control Z for me for when I do my notes. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I found this episode to be very insightful and helpful, and this got me even more hyped than I was before we started recording. I'm really excited for the next multiplayer experience. I'm really excited for the next zombies experience, but I am also remaining mostly pessimistic. There are infinite ways they can fuck up multiplayer. I'm actually more optimistic about zombies than multiplayer because there's a lot more room for error in PvE than PvP. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it is going to be interesting and fun, at least for a while, the next zombies experience, almost certainly. And that's really exciting to me. Multiplayer also has the potential to be fantastic if they don't fuck it up too much, which I think is possible that they won't fuck it up too much. So I'm really, really hyped for the next title in a way that I'm more excited for MW3 than I was for MW2, no doubt. Like, actually, there is a lot more to look forward to that we know than we did going into MW2. And the best thing of all is no matter what MW3 ends up shaping up to be, it will be better than MW2 because Infinity Ward isn't ruining it.
Yeah.
So no matter what new game we get, whether it lives up to the hype or not, it'll still be better than MW2 because Infinity Ward wasn't doing it. I'm not kidding. I guarantee you this game will be better than MW2. Knowing, I could have told you that before we knew anything about it, but I can definitely say that now because everything we've heard is really good. But Infinity Ward, just to remind you guys, worthless dog shit, trash, awful, miserable, worthless development studio. They should all be fired. They shouldn't have jobs. They shouldn't live in homes, frankly. They deserve to live under an underpass, maybe. A park bench, it being exposed to the elements they would probably deserve more. Fuck Infinity Ward, terrible development studio. Just don't forget that and stay humble.
Stay humble.